All right, welcome to page 2, Constitutional Convention of 1787. This was a meeting to create the United States Constitution, and the Constitutional Convention met from May 25th to September 17th, 1787. The Constitutional Convention, which was also known as the Philadelphia Convention, it is also known as the Federal Convention or the Grand Convention at Philadelphia. You're mostly going to see those in primary sources. When it comes to this class, when it comes to what's expected of you, the Constitutional Convention of 1787. Just know it as that. But the Constitutional Convention of 1787 took place from May 25th to September 17th, 1787 in the old Pennsylvania State House, later known as Independence Hall, because this is also where the Declaration of Independence was adopted 11 years before in Philadelphia. The delegates elected George Washington of Virginia to become president of the convention, and the result of this convention was the creation of the Constitution of the United States. That is a very, very important sentence right there. That is very powerful. This is where our nation's rule book was created. Several broad outlines were proposed and debated. The most notably would be James Madison's Virginia Plan and William Paterson's New Jersey Plan. So the Virginia Plan and the New Jersey Plan, those are going to be very important things for you to remember. While the concept of a federal government with the three branches, what we have today, legislative, executive, and judicial, and the general role of each branch was not heavily disputed, several issues delayed further progress and put the success of the convention in doubt. So when people met up, they generally agreed that a legislative branch would be needed, an executive branch would be needed, and a judicial branch would be needed. Under the Articles, there had only been a legislative branch. If you went to court, you were only going to go to a judicial court in the state. There weren't any real courts for the United States. And there was no president. There was no king. There was no executive. That's why it's called an executive branch. People decided at this convention pretty unanimously that we did need all three of those. But there's a lot of details in those three that people didn't really agree with. The most heated disputes revolved around the composition, the makeup, and the election of the Senate as the upper legislative house of a bicameral Congress, meaning Congress is going to have two parts, bicameral, two parts. Should it be proportional representation, which would be defined by a state's geography or by its population, and whether or not slaves were to be counted? Are slaves people or are they not? Remember, all men are created equal, Declaration of Independence. Are they people? Are they men? If so, should they be counted for representation? Whether to divide the executive power among among three people, or to give power into a single chief executive called the president. How would a president be elected? How long should they serve? For what term? That's what that means. And whether to limit each president to a single term in office. What offenses would be impeachable? The nature of a fugitive slave clause. A clause in the Constitution would be like a section. And whether to allow the abolition of the slave trade. Whether or not the Constitution would allow the eventual destruction of slavery as a concept in the United States. And lastly, whether or not judges should be chosen by the legislature or the executive. Who chooses who are going to be the judges? Progress was slow until mid-July, when the Connecticut Compromise, the Great Compromise, you will see it as the Connecticut Compromise, and you will also see it as the Great Compromise, resolved enough arguments for a draft to gain acceptance, like a first draft of the Constitution for people to generally say, it's all right. What the Connecticut Compromise, what the Great Compromise, as it's more commonly known, did was it took good parts of the Virginia plan and good parts of the New Jersey plan and combined it together. So the Great Compromise combined the best parts of the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. Though more modifications and compromises were made over the following weeks, most of the rough draft remained in place and can be found in the finished version of the Constitution. After several more issues were resolved, the Committee on Style produced the final version in early September. So the Committee on Style would have just gone over minute details. It was voted on by the delegates, inscribed on parchment with an engraving for printing, and signed by 39 of 55 delegates on September 17th, 1787. The completed proposed Constitution was then released to the public to begin debate and the ratification process. So even after the complete Constitution was created, it had to be sent to the states for approval, for ratification. And that's a big whole process. We'll end up going over that. I hope that you're being successful.